Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. A second person is now in sustained remission from HIV-1, the virus that causes AIDS, after stopping treatment and is likely cured, according to researchers. And they were set to announce this at a medical conference on Tuesday, U.S. time, 10 years after the first confirmed case of an HIV-infected person being rid of the deadly disease. A man known only as the London patient has shown no sign of the virus for nearly 19 months. They reported this in the journal Nature. Both patients had received bone marrow transplants to treat blood cancers, receiving stem cells from donors with a rare genetic mutation that prevents HIV from taking hold. Now, experts say the approach is not practical for healthy people with HIV, but it may ultimately help find a cure. The male London patient, who has not been named, was diagnosed with HIV in 2003 and advanced Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2012. He had chemotherapy to treat the Hodgkin's cancer, and in addition, stem cells were implanted into the patient from a donor resistant to HIV, leading to both his cancer and HIV going into remission. This is the second time a patient treated this way has ended up in remission from HIV. 10 years ago, another patient in Berlin received a bone marrow transplant from a donor with natural immunity to the virus. Timothy Brown, said to be the first person to beat HIV/AIDS, was given 2 transplants and total body irradiation or radiotherapy for leukemia, a much more aggressive treatment. The research team for the London patient will present their findings at the annual conference of retroviruses and opportunistic infections in Seattle, Washington. Both the London and Berlin patients received stem cell transplants from donors carrying a genetic mutation that prevents expression of an HIV receptor known as the CCR5.
Worsening security in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, marked by attacks on Ebola clinics, have made it a given that the deadly virus will spread, the World Health Organization said on Friday. It has condemned the deplorable targeting of 2 Medicines Sans Frontières facilities earlier this week in Cathay and Butembo. Today, WHO and partners have relied on armed protection from UN peacekeepers from the United Nations Stabilization Mission in the DRC, or MONUSCO, to operate in a region that's home to more than 100 non-state armed groups. Here's WHO spokesperson Christian Lindmeier.
In the light of the recent attacks, an enhanced discussion with MONUSCO forces, with local authorities, to see how this can best be done so that the safety of the patients and, of course, of the staff is ensured, and that everything can be done to get this outbreak under control. But as I mentioned earlier, the deteriorating security situation bears a likelihood of an increase of Ebola cases. That is definitely a given.
According to the DRC health authorities, the latest outbreak of Ebola, which began on August 1st, 2018, has claimed 555 lives.
You try to save your own life more than anything.
To Alabama now, people are taking stock of the destruction left behind by the tornadoes in the small rural town of Beauregard in Alabama. At least 23 people have died when 2 back-to-back tornadoes ripped across the southern United States. Now, take a look.
Some important papers, a checkbook. Yeah. Now we just need to find his wallet.
I would describe the damage that we have seen in the area as catastrophic. There are simply in some locations the complete residences are gone. The debris field stretches for hundreds and hundreds of yards. We're finding materials that from one location up to half a mile away from the original point of where they were located. It's very difficult. I have not seen this type of level of destruction ever in my experience here in Lee County. And that covers a span back, I know, for at least 50 years. We have not had anything of this nature.
Houses are left destroyed and trees are felled in the small rural town of Beauregard in Alabama after back-to-back tornadoes ripped across the southern state. The death toll of 23 is expected to rise further. The powerful winds packed up a billboard from a Lee County flea market in Alabama and dumped it in some 20 miles away across the state line in Georgia, local media reported. More than 6,000 homes were left without power in Alabama, according to Power Outage US, while 16,000 suffered outages in neighboring Georgia. The search for missing people was focused in the area around Beauregard, about 60 miles east of the state capital, Montgomery. While the heavy rains that accompanied the high winds had relented overnight, many roads in the worst-hit areas were blocked by debris, hindering search efforts. Residents in the town of Smith Station told local TV news crews of their shock at turning up to work to find their businesses destroyed.
We ran around in these woods, ran around everywhere, friends, family, and now it's all gone. So it's heartbreaking. It's going to take a long time to build it back up, but I think with everybody still sticking together, we'll get it done.
It looks like a bomb went off. I mean, this is just a big crater right there. Like, it used to be nothing but trees and houses. You can see the neighbor's house, obviously, but this is just completely landscape change.
The National Weather Service, or NWS, had issued a tornado warning for areas including Lee County on Sunday, calling residents to take cover now, move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, avoid windows. The warning for the first twister was issued at 2:58 p.m. The NWS said the warning for the second came less than an hour later at 3:38 p.m. The National Weather Service said the most powerful tornado was an EF4 with winds estimated at 170 miles, or that's 270 kilometers per hour, the first twister of that strength in nearly 2 years. CNN reported that around a dozen tornadoes were reported to have touched down in Alabama and Georgia in the course of the day.
In other news, the House Judiciary Committee launched a sprawling new probe into Donald Trump's inner circle and alleged abuses of power, demanding documents from dozens of individuals, including the president's sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, and son-in-law Jared Kushner. The powerful panel's Democratic chairman, Jerry Nadler, sent letters to 81 people and entities in Trump's current or former orbit, or who may have information pertinent to the investigation, amid a push by opposition lawmakers to hold the president and his associates accountable for possible wrongdoing. They include the Trump Organization's longtime chief financial officer, Allen Weisselberg, White House ex-aide Steve Bannon, and Hope Hicks, current Trump personal lawyer Jay Sekulow, former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. The request is the most serious overt ramp-up of investigations into President Trump since Democrats took control of the House of Representatives in early January, and seeks to uncover whether Trump or his administration have participated in obstruction of justice, public corruption, or other abuse of power. Trump himself swatted away the probe as a fabrication.
Are you going to cooperate with Mr. Nadler?
I cooperate all the time with everybody. And you know the beautiful thing? No collusion. It's all a hoax.
Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido received a hero's welcome from thousands of flag-waving supporters chanting, "Yes, you can," as he returned to Caracas on Monday, defying the threat of arrest from embattled President Nicolas Maduro's government. Here's more.
Yo pude entrar a Venezuela gracias a ustedes, a su movilización y en toda Venezuela. Sintamos que avanzamos hoy un paso determinante en la conquista de nuestra libertad. Esa pequeña victoria de hoy, esa gira por Sudamérica, esa conquista en todo espacio, es gracias al pueblo de Venezuela. El día sábado, toda Venezuela vuelve a las calles decidida y determinadamente para movilizarse en busca de su libertad. No nos quedaremos ni un segundo tranquilos hasta lograr la libertad de Venezuela.
In other news, actor Luke Perry, who starred in the hit 1990s television series Beverly Hills 90210, is dead at the age of 52 after suffering a massive stroke. Take a look. The news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important asset. Is our most important asset. And
Auto industry titan Carlos Ghosn moved a step closer to freedom Tuesday as a Tokyo court unexpectedly granted him bail after more than 3 months in a detention cell. It was the latest twist in a case that has kept Japan and the business world gripped since the tycoon's shock arrest on November 19 over suspicions of financial misconduct. The court set bail at 1 billion yen, or that's $9 million, but prosecutors appealed the decision and could even file additional allegations against the 64-year-old to keep him from leaving detention. Under his bail terms, Ghosn is banned from leaving Japan and must adhere to conditions aimed at preventing him from fleeing or destroying evidence. The shock decision came a day after Ghosn's new lead defense lawyer, Bonichiro Hironaka, told reporters he had filed a convincing application for bail that contained fresh elements. Hironaka, who has a reputation for securing acquittals for high-profile clients in a country where almost all court cases end in conviction, offered greater surveillance of Ghosn and a limit of his electronic communications. Ghosn's prolonged stay behind bars has come under fire internationally and from rights groups. The family of Carlos Ghosn have also decided to take his case to the United Nations, believing that the fundamental rights of the former Renault and Nissan executives were not respected. Francois Zamaray, lawyer of Carlos Ghosn's family, read a statement from his family. Take a look.
Voilà plus de 100 jours que Carlos Ghosn est emprisonné au Japon, dans la citadelle de Kosuge, lieu de détention aux règles moyenâgeuses. Voilà plus de 100 jours qu'il est confiné dans une cellule étroite, la lumière allumée de jour comme de nuit, obligé de dormir sur le dos, le visage découvert. Je voudrais également préciser que l'initiative que nous allons vous présenter n'est en aucune façon une initiative contre le Japon, et ce pour plusieurs raisons. La première, et cette déclaration le dit très fermement, c'est l'affection, l'attachement, l'admiration que Carlos Ghosn et sa famille ont pour le Japon et pour cette civilisation. Cette initiative fait écho à de très nombreuses voix qui s'élèvent du Japon, comme récemment la branche japonaise de la FIDH, la Fédération internationale des droits de l'homme, pour dénoncer ce système qu'ils appellent justice de l'otage, hostage justice.
The lawyer represents Ghosn's wife, Carol, who in a recent interview with Paris Match magazine described her husband's detention condition as deplorable, and children Caroline, Maya, Nadine, and Anthony. Ghosn faces 3 charges of financial misconduct, 2 involving alleged underreporting of his salary, and a 3rd over a complex scheme in which he allegedly sought to transfer his losses to Nissan's books. He has denied all the charges.
China's premier warned that the country faces a tough struggle as he unveiled tax cuts to prop up a stuttering economy while increasing military spending to nearly $180 billion. The slowdown and U.S. trade war have become major challenges for President Xi Jinping, a year after becoming the country's most powerful leader since Mao Zedong, with the abolition of term limits and etching of his name into the Constitution. Premier Li Keqiang told the opening session of China's annual National People's Congress that the government is targeting growth of 6 to 6.5% this year for the world's second largest economy, lowering its range from 2018. Nearly 3,000 delegates from across the country gathered under tight security with legislation aimed at improving conditions for foreign investors, topping the agenda of the 2-week session.
我们面对的是深刻变化的外部环境，经济全球化遭遇波折，多边主义受到冲击，国际金融市场震荡，特别是中美贸易摩擦给一些企业生产经营、市场预期带来不利影响。综合分析国内外形势，今年我国发展面临的环境更复杂、更严峻，可以预料和难以预料的风险挑战更多更大，要做好打硬仗的充分准备。
The government had set a target of around 6.5% in 2018 and eventually recorded official growth of 6.6%, the slowest pace in nearly 3 decades. 3/4 of provinces have already lowered their annual growth targets this year.
At President Donald Trump's direction, Washington intends to scrap the preferential trade status granted to India and Turkey, the U.S. Trade Chief's office said Monday. The move comes as the U.S. and China seek to negotiate an exit from a costly trade war between the two countries that is part of the Trump administration's efforts to address what it views as inequitable commercial relationships with other states. The office of the U.S. Trade Representative said in a statement, and I quote, "India has failed to provide assurances that it would allow required market access, while Turkey is sufficiently economically developed that it no longer qualifies. Under the generalized system of preferences or GSP program, certain products can enter the U.S. duty-free if the beneficiary developing country meets a set of criteria established by Congress. The criteria include providing intellectual property protection and giving the U.S. reasonable and fair market access. India, however, has implemented a wide array of trade barriers that create serious negative effects on United States commerce," the statement said. It said Turkey, after being designated a GSP beneficiary in 1975, has meanwhile demonstrated a higher level of economic development, meaning that it can be graduated from the program. Trump has made taking aim at what he considers imbalanced trade relationships a central plank of his presidency, sparking a trade war with Beijing that has dragged on for nearly a year.
In other business news, Cathay Pacific confirmed it is in talks to buy a stake in Hong Kong's sole low-cost airline as it competes to counter the growth of budget carriers in the region. Asia's largest airline said it was in active discussions about an acquisition involving HKE or Hong Kong Express. Cathay shares were up 2.3% at 13.32 Hong Kong dollars in morning trade after the announcement. Hong Kong Express is the city's sole budget carrier, a sector of the industry that a marquee brand like Cathay has struggled to compete against. Cathay embarked on a 3-year plan to overhaul its operations after posting its first losses in 8 years in 2016 as it faced stiff competition from budget rivals on the mainland. It fired more than 600 workers, cut back overseas offices and crew stations, and added international routes and better onboard services in a bid to compete with well-heeled Middle Eastern carriers. The overhaul appears to be paying dividends. Last month, Cathay said it expects to have swung back to black in 2018, recording a consolidated profit of around $293 million US.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visit
An attempt by South Korea to create artificial rain to tackle air pollution many blame on neighboring China has failed, the government said Monday, as it struggles to address what has become an urgent public concern. Many South Koreans blame China when pollution surged for 3 days earlier this month. And on Friday, the Korea Meteorological Administration, or KMA, sent an aircraft to seed clouds with silver iodide in the hope of promoting rain. The intention was for the rain to douse airborne particles and pollutants known as fine dust in South Korea. However, an initial analysis of the experiment has been disappointing, KMA said in a preliminary report. While a weak, misty rain was detected for several minutes, the agency said there was no observation of significant precipitation. Aside from its success or failure, the test was an opportunity to accumulate the necessary technology for a faster commercialization of cloud seeding, it added. A full report is expected to be released later next month. Air quality in South Korea is generally better than in China, which is more frequently affected by choking bouts of filthy air. South Korean President Moon Jae-in last week advised his officials to handle the issue as a natural disaster, as he urged cooperation with Beijing, addressing great public concerns about fine dust coming from China.
Last month's visit by roaming polar bears that put a Russian village on lockdown may be just the beginning. For as Moscow steps up its activity in the warm Arctic, conflict with the rare species is likely to increase. More than 50 bears approached Belusha Guba, a village on the far northern Novaya Zemlya archipelago in February. As many as 10 of them explored the streets and entered the buildings. Local authorities declared a state of emergency for a week and appealed for help from Moscow. Photos of the incident went viral, with some observers blaming officials for ignoring a sprawling garbage dump nearby where the animals feasted on food waste. But polar bear experts say the main reason the Arctic predators came so close to humans was the late freezing of the sea. It was this that kept them from hunting seals and sent them looking for alternative food sources. And as Russia increases its footprint in the Arctic, pursuing energy projects, Northern Passage navigation, and strategic military interests, experts expect more clashes between humans and bears. Moscow announced in 2014 that the Arctic was a strategic priority for its military. President Vladimir Putin last year ordered an increase in the capacity of the Northern Passage, touted as an alternate trade route to Asia from the current 18 million tons to 80 million tons by 2024.
Moscow's extreme cold weather has turned the area into a winter wonderland. To show and tell us more, here's our EBC correspondent from Russia, Amy Koloma, reports from Moscow.
Welcome to Moscow, Russia Winter Wonderland. Moscow is experiencing extreme cold weather from negative 15 degrees Celsius up to negative 30 degrees Celsius in the city, and in the region up to negative 50 to negative 60 degrees Celsius. But this winter season is very cold and you need to prepare yourself your clothes. You must prepare yourself and clothes before going anywhere in the city. For example, if the weather low around negative 15 degrees Celsius, we use 3 to 4 layers. However, Russians love the cold weather, especially the children. They love to play in the snow. Families have their time together during cold season. They usually ski, ice skate, and goes to different parks and museums, having traditional warm, hearty food during this season. Warmer, kalgot, the wool inner and coat, useful for this really cold weather. The more the heavier the clothing during winter, the better, as it's freezing outside like walking around a deep freezer. The coldest month is December to February. It is not easy when you use public transportation, wearing heavy clothes with a scarf, hat, wool inside. Being grown up in a tropical place, it is hard to move and hard to breathe. In crowded place, you have to wear snow boots that has spike on it to avoid falling to ground because of icy road. In Moscow, even in heavy snowfall and weather dropped to negative 25 degrees Celsius, residents are still expected to work and go to school. Life must go on. However, for children, negative 15 degrees Celsius below, children are not allowed to play outside, no longer safe. However, the beautiful Snow White will always enchant you, the beauty of nature here in Moscow. You will enjoy the sightseeing and have fun in the snow with your friends. During cold weather, most people get sick, especially for us Filipinos. If we do not wear proper clothes, it's easy to catch cold and flu. To avoid sickness, always check the temperature before you leave. Come and visit Moscow, Russia and experience the Winter Wonderland season. From Moscow, Russia, this is Amy Koloma, EBC Russia, and I'm 1/25.
Thanks, Emmy. We'll be back with the sports news right after this break. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
Marami ko ospital na napuntahan, pero wala ring nangyayari. Somebody introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated. After 2 treatments, gumanda ang pakiramdam ko.
My friends introduced me Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, and luckily, I got cured. So I sincerely want to thank the doctors of Manila Beijing Medical Associates.
For the past 30 years, ang dami ko nang na-take na mga gamot. Nothing happened to me. So until one my friend introduced me to Manila Beijing Medical Associated, you know what? All my illness was cured.
For any health problems or incurable diseases, you can visit Manila Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated, located at 843B Sabino Padilla Street, Binondo, Manila.
In the Western Hockey League, the Vancouver Giants took care of business with a 4-0 win at home against BC Division rival Victoria Royals. Here is ABC Sports correspondent Anthony Sevilla for the report.
The Vancouver Giants take care of business here at home with a 4-0 shutout against BC Division rival Victoria Royals. Giants goaltender David Tendick had 26 saves and notched his 4th shutout of the season and his 50th career win. The Giants bounced back from the recent home loss to the Portland Winterhawks after a long stretch of success at the Langley Event Center, where the team hasn't lost in almost 2 months. The Royals failed to make their mark on the box score, where they were unable to capitalize on all of their scoring chances. The Royals were 0 for 5 on the power play and gave up 2 crucial penalties to Vancouver, which resulted in the game's turnaround. Giants goaltender David Tendick played a huge role in the win, where he stopped all 26 of Victoria's shots on net for his 4th shutout of the year.
Oh yeah, obviously it's nice to get a win, and in this case get a shutout, but I know there's a lot of games left and we got to get ready for playoffs here, and we're all planning to make a big push for the postseason.
Well, he like Trent in games like this can make difficult saves look really easy. I think our defense did a really good job, but there were times that we needed him to step up and make some big saves for us, and that's what both of those guys have done for us all year long. But for David, it has been a tough month, and really happy for him for getting the shutout and his 50th career win, and again, just a real solid effort. Couldn't come at a better time.
A lopsided loss for the Royals on the road, but head coach Dan Price explains how the game wasn't as lopsided as it seemed, despite the end result, and also defends his players' efforts by taking responsibility for the team's breakdowns.
I thought our guys played hard all throughout the game as well. You know, I really have to take responsibility at the end of the day with our team for the result. It was 4 pretty fundamental breakdowns, 2 in D-zone coverage, 2 at the end of power plays, so I need to do a better job making sure we understand our assignments on that. Well, I think the chances were probably pretty close to even. Vancouver did a very good job converting on theirs. Like I said, the first 2 goals they got on the D-zone breakdown sequences, you know, they buried those chances, both shots from their defensemen through screens, and then the 2 basically shorthanded chances. One, the penalty had just expired, but the other one, the penalty was just expiring. So very opportunistic, and great job by them.
Vancouver's win makes them 1 point shy of clinching the BC Division banner, the first time being since the 2009-2010 season. Victoria will face Vancouver again at home, where they will take on the Giants 2 more times until the regular season. Reporting from the Langley Event Center, I'm Anthony Sevilla, and I'm 1 with 25.
In other news, and shifting gears now, the Portuguese town of Sintra boasts romantic castles and even rugged surroundings. Now it's time to show you a great place to visit, especially if you're in a bit of history and culture, and if you like castles. Our ABC correspondent in Europe, Malu Francisco, takes us to the most westerly point of mainland Europe and one of Portugal's top tourist attractions, Sintra. This is just above the capital, Lisbon, and it's set in a rugged landscape looking out onto the Atlantic, and the city it has the Sintra National Palace. Malu?
Join me on a visit to the town of Sintra near Lisbon, the capital city of Portugal. Did you know that the whole town of Sintra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its cultural landscape? Sintra's cultural landscape includes nature like the plants, trees, and the man-made structures such as palaces and castles. I visited one of the palaces in the center of the town, the Sintra National Palace. In 15th century, King João I began the construction of the palace. The beautification was continued by the next kings. The palace stands out in the distance because of its chimneys. This room is called the magpie room. The magpie is a kind of bird, and the word also refers to a talkative person. The story goes, the king was caught kissing one of the queen's ladies in waiting. In defending himself, the king justified the kissing, saying, the kiss does not have a bad meaning. More than 130 magpies are painted on the ceiling. This is to remind the queen's ladies in waiting to talk about their duties as members of the royal court instead of gossiping. We now come to the Swan Hall or the Grand Hall. This was built in the 15th century. Here the king hosted large banquets. The room was destroyed during the devastating 1775 earthquake. It was restored in its present state later. The food for the large banquets was prepared in this kitchen. The big chimneys, rising more than 30 meters above the kitchen, were installed to prevent smoke from building up. When we think of the time then, we can say the kitchen was state-of-the-art. Welcome to this magnificent room. This displays the coats of arms of the Portuguese royal families. The succeeding monarchs added up decorations to the room. The decorations are remarkable. The ceramic blue and white tiles are called in Portuguese azulejos. Here, the tiles depict hunting motifs. The azulejos are part of Moorish art. The word Moorish refers to the Muslims from North Africa, like the country of Morocco. According to history, the town of Sintra was once a Moorish settlement before it fell into the hands of the first Portuguese king, King Alfonso de Enriquez. The Moors left a great influence on the architecture and decorations of the palace. The word azulejos originates from the Arabic word which means a polished stone. The Sintra National Palace is only one of the numerous monuments and places in the world that document history and preserve the culture of a nation. Till next time, for another glimpse of history and culture from other places. In Sintra, Portugal, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, this is Malu Francisco, and I am one with 25.
Thank you, Malu.
Thanks, Malu. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles, and
we're one with 25.